Students, it is a pleasure to come into your place of relaxation wherever you are this evening watching this video to talk to you about something that I have been doing for a number of years now. I am here to present to you information on the Cornell Note-Taking System. Now, I didn't just do this on my own. Your teacher, whoever your teacher is, and whomever you are learning about Cornell Notes in that class, and they provided you an interactive notebook, then that is why I'm here. So I have a job to do, so let's get started. Hey, so listen, today's learning goal is really in the form of a question, and it says, how can I use Cornell Notes to become more organized and to retain information presented in the classroom? When we send our children to school as parents, we want them to make good grades and we want them to learn. And so we believe, and so does this other guy who created this whole Cornell note-taking system, we believe that in order for you to perform highly, that you need to take organized notes and you need to retain the information presented in class. And so today I'm going to tell you how. So, why do you need to take notes in the first place, right? You need to take notes for the reasons that were on that previous slide to retain information. And I think it also said to be more organized. So we could all use a little organization in our lives. So let's jump right in. There is an F word, and parents, when you hear this, don't get alarmed. If you're following along with your students, there is an F word that answers the question why you should take notes, right? So, once you think about it for a minute, can you think of a word that begins with the letter F that would anyway have anything to do with why we ask you to take notes? So good. To minimize your rate of forgetting. So all of you who said to not forget, give yourselves a round of applause or a pat on the back, because that was an awesome answer. We don't want you to forget. So there's this guy, his name is Dr. Walter Puck, and he came up with this whole Cornell note-taking system. And he happened to work at Cornell University's Reading Center. So Mr. Puck, I'm sure, was observing his kids, his students, his college students at the university, and he was finding various differences. This is my own take on it, right? So I'm sure that he was looking at these kids and he saw kids who took some notes. He saw kids who didn't take any notes. So while the lecture is going on, they were just sitting there listening, but they weren't writing. I hope that doesn't sound like any of you, right? Because those students, according to Dr. Puck's research, they will forget 60% of the information presented in 14 days. Well, if you forget 60%, then that means that you only remember 40%. 40% is enough. That's not what we want when we send you to school, right? So then you have another group of students that Dr. Puck studied, and they take some notes. And I don't know whether you do this in class, but when the teacher gets close, then you write a little bit, take some notes. But when they're far away from you or focused on something else, you don't take any. Or maybe you don't know how to take notes yet. And so maybe your hand gets tired while you're taking notes. I don't know. But these particular students studied, took some notes, and they only remembered 60%. That's still a D, right? And so I have 4 children, and I don't send my children to school to make D's or F's. And so I'm going to need them to do better, right? And so if you want to do better, then you'll adopt the systems that we put in place that have been studied and that have been shown to work by observing kids and doing the research. So when Dr. Puck did this research and found that students who don't take any notes, they're going to only remember 40%, forgetting 60. And then he looked at students who took some notes who remembered 60 and forgot 40. Let's look at the other student. This student is the student that I ask my own children to strive to be, right? I want them to go to class. I want them to be able to recognize when a teacher is in teaching stance, right? They're in front of the class, they're waiting for your attention, and they have their visuals on the board or on the smart board, and they're ready to teach. Now, the question that I ask you is when you see a teacher in that position, what are you doing? Are you in the position for learning? Meaning, do you have your textbook open? Do you have your notebook open? Do you have a utensil to write with if you're writing notes? Do you have your Chromebook open and ready to type in the notes from the lecture that the teacher is ready to present? If the teacher is in teaching stance and you're sitting in your seat, but you're not in learning stance, then it delays the process. And you may fall into one of these two categories of students who don't take notes, any at all, or students who take some. So when I encourage my students to learn and always be ready to receive the information that the teacher is presenting, I encourage them to be this third group of students that Dr. Walter Puck studied. These students take organized notes, right? And that's why we're here tonight, so that I can tell you how to take organized notes. And there is a conjunction there. They do something with them. So even if you take the most organized notes in the world, but you never study them, then you still have the possibility of not retaining the information and not doing well on the test. So you want to do both. Put a conjunction in there and take organized notes and do something with them. I know I'm animated, but that's how I teach, okay? So let's look at this. This group of students who follows this example is going to remember 90 to 100% indefinitely. And so if you were in class with me right now learning this, I would ask someone to tell me, what does indefinitely mean? So since we're on a video, then I would like to pause just for a second. You can put it on pause and you can think about what indefinitely means to you. This is what you want to do. Indefinitely means that when EOC rolls around at the end of your course, that you still retain the information. Indefinitely means that when you learn a concept in math class and it's a building concept, meaning they're going to keep building on it, then when you get to high school at a higher math, you're still going to remember the information that you learned about that concept in middle school. So indefinitely is a really, really, really long time. And that is how you want to be with the information that you study, because it's going to help you on the SAT. It's going to help you on the ACT. It's going to help you with any of those placement exams that ask you to recall information that you learned a long time ago. So there are four main areas to the Cornell note-taking system. We have the top section, which includes the topic objective area. We have the left-hand side, which is going to contain your questions and cues. And then we have the right-hand side, which contains your notes on the questions and cues. And then the bottom is going to be the summary. So if you had a pre-printed page about this, by the way, the side note says Dr. Puck created the Cornell Note-Taking system, which is used, it does not say Don Estridge High Tech Middle School, right? Even though we use it here, it says that it's used at Stanford University, UCLA's School of Engineering. It's used at most law schools. These are postgraduate schools, okay? And of course, at Cornell University. So, this system that we're asking you to adopt into your life so that when you go to high school, it's already in place, right? It requires you to review your notes and think critically after the learning has taken place in class. So, it's not enough for you to be successful, for you to just when you leave out of third period, that's it. Okay? And you're not looking at anything from third period anymore. That is not how we are recommending that you learn. We want you to take the information that you learned in third period, and then we want you to, when you get home, use this system to review your notes. And then we want you to think critically about those notes. Like, wonder why he did that. I wonder why this particular equation is better solved when I do this, this, or that. We want you to think critically about the information that you're learning after class. Okay, so here's the top part is the purpose. You have your key terms and questions on the left. You have your answers or notes to that on the right. And then the bottom is the summary. Now, even if you don't have a pre-printed paper like this, which is used by the AVID programs in high school, you can have access to this, but nobody has to feel like they have to print this paper. So we teach you how to set your notebook paper up like this, and we also teach you how to set it up on your computer so that you are ready when your teacher is ready to give you new information. All right. So when should you take notes? I'm going to go through these really quick. If I go too fast, then you can always pause and rewind. So when should a student take notes? Well, the first thing is I think you should take notes when your teacher is ready to present new information, okay? When she's in that standing teaching position in front of class. She's ready to teach. You should be ready to learn. All right, so notes are a record of your learning. So you want to take them when you listen to a lecture, when you read a text, when you watch a video or a film like you are right now. How many people out there are taking notes? This is a video. This is a film. Okay, it's filmed for you using WeVideo. When you work in a group on an activity, when you need to recall information about what happened to you in a class, a meeting, or an activity, which means pretty much all the time. Okay? So, what should the left side contain? It's a big question mark made out of meat. The questions that your left side should answer are the who, what, when, where, why, how. You should also put some terms and keywords over there, and you can put formulas and steps and diagrams over there too. Okay? So I don't want you to actually have to write out the who, but when your teacher is talking, and if she's talking about a person in history, then your ears should be keyed to the fact that, oh, I just heard a who. I need to write that name down. Or, oh, I just heard a what? I need to write that word down. Or, oh, I just heard the date 1972. I need to write that date down. Then on the right-hand side, then you're going to answer those who, what, when, where, how, and why. If you have key terms on the left, then on the right-hand side, you should have them the definitions or the explanation of those particular key terms. When a teacher is lecturing, you want to only write what is most important and leave the rest out there. Just pick out the things that are important. We don't want you to write sentences verbatim. You want to listen for repetition. So far, I've said Dr. Walter Puck's name about probably 3 times now. So if you don't have that written down, are you taking notes? I think you should be taking notes. I think you should be taking notes. If you don't have Dr. Walter Puck's name written down in your notes, then you have missed it because I've repeated that. So that means that that name is important. Okay. So when I start talking fast or when my volume goes up, when I've numbered something, or I give you explicit clues like, your teacher is going to put this on the test, then you need to know that that is important and it should be in your notes. Okay, watch for gestures and clues of organization. Look for material that is being written down by your instructor, maybe on the whiteboard or shared in a visual manner, like right now. This is a visual manner. I put together this PowerPoint presentation for you, and I'm presenting it in a visual manner. So if I take the time to do that, then that means that all of this is important. And if you see it and you've never seen it before, you should be writing it down in your notes. The Cornell Notes setting up your pages. And so right now, I want to really focus on these samples that I have here. I can put it in slideshow view so that you can see it a little better. But as we talked about earlier, we have our topic area, we have our cues and questions area, our notes, and our summary. And so this looks more color coordinated, where red, green, and orange represents, and blue represents the different parts of the pages, right? So I am going to uh, kind of scroll down so that you can see. So this is one that we did digitally. So you can see again that lopsided T with the topic summary area, the left and the right side. The wonderful thing about this is that you're able to type right in here, and then you're able to put links to videos if you want to. You can put links to websites. You can highlight using the highlight feature, which I'm going to escape out of here. So you can see that when you start taking notes in here, these are basically just text boxes and items that we've added. We add like little stickies to the page so that your page looks fully decorated when you do it. So the last thing that I'm going to show you, I want to do this with you in class. So the last thing that I'm going to show you is how this actually is set up. So I would go to File, the word File under a Page Setup. I would scroll down to Page Setup, and instead of it being on a slideshow size, I want to click Custom, and then I want to make it an 8.5 by 11-inch page, and I want to apply. So once I do that, all of my pages, instead of looking like slideshow screens, they begin to look like pieces of paper. Of course, they're going to look more like a piece of paper if you go and do a Google search and you look for notebook lined paper, which is what I did. So this is nothing that's rocket science. You can kind of decorate this any way you want, just like a lot of my students have done. You can, if I go here and I don't think you're able to see it if I switch off of here. So you are able to um, set your pages up with backgrounds and stickers and words and photographs that make it look more for your taste. You can also just be plain with it, and you can just do colors to represent your different areas as well, as you see on here. So the page setup part is simple. You have the basics of the page setup, but we're going to cover them extensively in class when I see you. And then we're going to actually practice what to put in these different areas. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here to learn about Cornell Note-Taking the flipped classroom way. And I look forward to working with you in class and reviewing some of the things that you learned in this video. Until we meet next time, take care and be safe.